Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Dan Blanchard with the Travel in Time with Dan show, where we mix travel with history and with leadership, and of course with me, Dan Blanchard. Today, I am in a very interesting place today in New Britain at the YMCA. So at the YMCA in New Britain, Connecticut. All right, this building, I guess the YMCA could say, its original location in 1893 was on West Main Street in New Britain. I'm at the modern day location of 50 High Street in New Britain. So why am I here at the New Britain YMCA? Well, I gotta tell you, most people don't realize what a huge role the YMCA used to play in people's lives. And this particular one here in New Britain is actually where dribbling a basketball began. And this one's got the double honor of actually being the creator of racquetball as well. But today, let's talk basketball. Now, a lot of you out there, I'm sure, have heard of Dr. James Naismith, the founder, the father of basketball. Right? He was working as a gym teacher up at Springfield College, and he noticed that in the winter, when the students didn't get a chance to go outside because of the bad weather, they were kind of putting on a few pounds, right? So he came up with the basketball game, 2 peach baskets and a soccer ball, 9 people on each team, and at 1 point a basket. I think the first game was 1-0. And after that, a whole bunch of games were 3-4, 4-1, stuff like that for a while. So Dr. James Naismith came up with basketball, and he came up with what's called these original 13 rules of basketball. And number 3 said, are you ready for this? The 3rd rule of basketball said, no dribbling. You got that. It was a passing game. It was a team passing game, looking nothing like the superstars you see dribbling the ball today and driving to the hoop, okay? And that's how it went. Now, eventually, many, many years later, Kansas University is actually going to buy the original 13 rules of basketball of Dr. James Naismith, and they're going to pay a lot of money to buy that. And they have it over there if anybody ever wants to see it. So now, here we are in New Britain at the YMCA. It's something really interesting happens here. The players here find a loophole in the rules, right? The rules said no dribbling the basketball. It was only passing, right? Stationary, passing. So they came up with this thing that was called a self-pass. They would throw the ball down on the ground and then run over and grab it wherever it kind of was landing, right? The referees would blow the whistle saying, hey, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's against the spirit of the game, the spirit of the rules. And then the Britain players would say, show me in the rule book where it says you cannot self-pass during this basketball passing game. Nowhere does it say you can't pass to yourself or self-pass. And this gave the referees a really hard time because they did not like the New Britain players doing that and be able to move their position and better their position and their angle. But what could they do about it? There was nothing in the rule book saying you couldn't self-pass. Now, later on, that self-passing is going to become like a batting the ball. Kind of crazy, like a slapping it, batting it. And that's going to eventually lead to dribbling with the finger control and much of what you see today with the crossovers, the behind the back, the through the legs, the driving through the hoop, the layups eventually, the dunking, and the excitement you see today. But before all that happens, you got New Britain self-passing and them really angering the referees. Now, it's going to take a while. Right? This is 1891 basketball, right? It's going to take a while for the rules to start to catch up to the New Britain players here at the YMCA. And in 1898 rule, they're going to say, okay, you can do 1 self-pass where you throw the ball down the ground, go run over and grab it wherever it lands there or wherever it's falling. You can do 1 of that, but then you can no longer shoot the basket. Then you're going to pass your teammate. 1901, they come up with the rule of the continuous dribble, fingertip control, all that stuff, right? And then that's going to put it on the road to what you see today, okay? Now, when it comes to the cradle of basketball history, there's some arguments to be made for New Britain. Some people would say, no, it's Springfield. Dr. James Naismith, where basketball began, the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, right? And they've got an argument. Some people are going to say, no, it's Kansas. Kansas is the cradle of basketball history. You know, we got the 13 original rules of basketball up there in the Kansas University on display. Come check it out, right? They've got an argument. But here's the thing. You know what really, really, really changed the game of basketball? New Britain's YMCA with dribbling. Dribbling totally changed the game of basketball, right? So now you know, when I do these Travel in Time with Dan shows, I put in travel, history, and leadership. Now, I'm all for you traveling anywhere basketball is, Hall of Fame, whatever, but New Britain here is a really exciting place. This New Britain YMCA has such a rich, steep history of where dribbling was born, where racquetball was born, and much else. It's a really cool place. You definitely travel down New Britain. Check it out. I've given you a little bit of the history of this place. Now, what's the leadership? The leadership lesson is this, all right? Leaders don't just blindly follow rules. They look for better ways of doing things. And even though these New Britain players were seen as pains in the butts by the ref, right? I got to tell you, they found a better way to do it. And they made the game of basketball much better, way more exciting, and then they were able to move around and maybe win some games through dribbling. So definitely, don't always just blindly follow the rules. Think, can this be better? Can this be better? And maybe dribbling is your way of making it better. Well, everyone, thank you for spending some time with me today on the Travel in Time with Dan show, where we mix travel with leadership and with history, and with me, of course, Dan Blanchard. We'll be back real soon with another great episode. Till then, take care.